whatever reason, majority of businesses don't sell. And a lot of it is, as you say, a lot of people either don't know or they don't want to know that their kids have no interest in being in their business. I talk to a lot of business owners, and they always talk as if the child is going to take over the business. And of course, the profits earned from that business is going to support them in retirement. But when you ask them explicitly, have you ever asked your child if they want your business? The answer is usually no.
You are just spot on. In fact, before becoming an investment banker, I spent 5 years as a partner in a boutique consulting firm specializing in working with small company business owners, family-owned companies, doing what's referred to as exit and transition planning. So helping them groom the company for a future sale in which they could get a maximum value or even make the company sellable at all. And that very conversation with their children was something we had to bring up. And it was often a surprise to them. But we've also seen cases where the kids agree to go into the business, but then once they're in there, they realize that this is just not for them. And the parent, the business owner, is left with oftentimes a more difficult choice and kind of a last minute decision as opposed to a pre-planned decision on how to get value out of the company.
So it seems like it's better to be proactive than reactive, because those last minute decisions can hurt. And I've also seen the other way around, where the child had no interest in being in the business at all. But once they work with a company like yours and the business is finally organized, all of a sudden the child always wanted to be in the business. What do you mean I didn't want the business? Of course I wanted it after you worked with Cameron Bishop and his team. And once you got everything organized, of course I want it.
Yeah, you're exactly right. But one of the smartest things that I have seen business owners do over time, and to backtrack a second, I spent 35 years of my career doing what are called leverage roll-ups for private equity firms. So we would buy a large platform company, then we would go out and acquire much smaller strategic acquisitions called tuck-ins to roll into that business. And the classic example is we bought a division of a company, and the father was a very wise guy. And he said, look, part of the deal is I would like for my son, to come and work for you for at least 2 years, involved with the properties that we had acquired. Really smart kid. He ended up staying for, I think, 4 years, but then he went back to fulfill a senior role in his father's company. So he had exposure to, we were a much larger company with a lot more disciplines and organizational structure and processes in place. So he was able to take those best practices back to his father's company and ultimately ran it and worked out a deal with his father to buy his father out. And that was a great ending for that business. And the father was just very wise to require his son to get business exposure someplace else besides in his own company.